Hey, everybody. Welcome back to DC Junction. I'm Mike.
And this is Matthew.
And today we are going to be it's a week away from the movie. It's a week out. By the time you're watching this, we're recording this a little bit earlier, but and we figured it was like, okay, now is the time for a lot of things have gone down in the world of DC and DC films and DC studios, and my watch agrees. And it's and even like my mother is like, okay, what's going on with this new Superman movie? Like, who, like, is it part of? There's a lot of questions people have, and if you this might be the first time you're watching us, in which case, hi,
subscribe. Oh, it's not up yet.
It's not up there to subscribe.
Subscribe.
Yeah. and follow us on social medias. It's above Matt's head, but it's also down there in front of us too. That way he only has to point, because we can never get it right when we try to do it.
I got this part right.
So. You just go up, yeah. But and other channels might be doing this, and they might be doing it better. New rock stars, but we're cute, and occasionally our technology goes off during recordings, and we just kind of around it. So,
and sometimes our technology dies completely, and you have to find a headset to use, and then try to enunciate louder so that the microphone picks it up.
Anyway, but yeah, so maybe this is your first time, like you're just like, I decided to do some homework before going to see a movie because you're that kind of nerd. So let us just hold your hand. And just we're gonna walk you into this movie. We're just walk with us. Let's start off with some really basic stuff, which is just what the hell happened with DC over the last few years. For those who don't know, there was a hierarchy changeover, ownership changing hands with Warner Brothers and things like that, things that don't matter. But basically, the new ownership at Warner Brothers decided DC needs their own film studio company, because they didn't have one. Marvel did. Marvel had Marvel Studios, but DC was always just movies that were DC movies made by Warner Brothers or whoever the hell else wrote a big check. It was just kind of, it was a mess. And
and it was a big mess.
It was a big mess. It was they tried for a long time to catch up with Marvel, and it didn't work. And the more it didn't work, the further they fell behind, and the more they tried to catch up. And here comes Zack Snyder with all of that, and it was received or not is up for debate, and would be up for debate until the end of time. But it was received.
Well, and I think the biggest thing, to not compare directly, but like with something like Marvel Studios, you have a single head that gives the direction of everything. Yeah. Which is what DC did not have. And it shows. Yeah.
Because Marvel,
I'm not even getting into Snyder.
Marvel didn't for a long time. There was a time pre-MCU, even when the MCU was first starting, it was Marvel Entertainment. Yeah. And because the first Iron Man was made by Paramount.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think the thing is like doing the DC studios, part of what had to happen is they had to get somebody to be the head of this thing. And that's where James Gunn and
Peter Safran came in. Yeah. They started off by saying, I feel like there was and we're basing this on nothing, I was basing this on just interviews we've read and covered over the last couple of years, or however long we've been covering this whole shakeup. Not just the 3 years we've been a show, just like in the last 2 years that this has all been a thing. Yeah. It sounds to me like, James Gunn, they approached James Gunn in the interim when he was, fired from Disney, and before they brought him back, and he went and did the Suicide Squad, and by all accounts that was something of an audition tape for him, accompanied with Peacemaker. And the first thing he did was like, well, I don't want to be one boss, I'm going to be two bosses. And Peter Safran, someone he'd worked with for a very long time, and so DC was like, well, first thing we're going to have two heads. We're going to have a business head, which is Peter Safran, and a creative head, and that's going to be James Gunn. And Jim Lee, you're in charge of the comics. Yeah. Have fun, buddy. Your comics go nuts, do your thing, please, by all means, keep doing your thing. And from there, it was James Gunn said, well, then I'm in charge. It's DC Studios. You give us the Kevin Feige. I don't answer to anyone. To a certain extent. Ish, to a certain extent. I mean, he does have a boss, but like, you know, as he said numerous times on social media, he doesn't get like studio notes from Warner Brothers because it's no longer a Warner Brothers project. It's a DC Studios. They are essentially starting a new business with this, which with a little bit of backing money from Warner Brothers, as it were. But that's the kind of like the boring who really actually gives a shit side of how did James Gunn get to be in charge of DC now. So that's that. We can move on from that. Covered that in the first 5 minutes, folks.
Oh, done.
Nailed
we can
it.
Move forward.
Cool. So how does this relate to the Zack Snyder DC stuff? This is where it's a little bit tricky. This is where if you feel free to, if you're like, this is too confusing for me, I get it. Yeah. It's a lot for us too. Because as of right now, we haven't seen the movie yet.
Yeah.
But here's the best way. We're going to do our best to walk you through it. Matt, do you want to start off on this a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. What you have, and you know, I'm gonna stick with facts, and then I'm gonna do some conjecture.
We're gonna do our best to stick with what we know.
Yeah. Factually speaking, James Gunn and Peter Safran take over DC Studios, thus enabling them to be the creative heads and control everything that's going to happen within these films and some of the other ones outside as Elseworld things like The Batman, Teen Titans Go, and Harley Quinn. His exact examples.
Those 3 examples he gave, which I remember the day we saw that announcement, I was like, those are the 3. Those are the 3 examples you're going with. Okay.
I was just happy he knew what Teen Titans Go was.
I think, but, you and 5 other people.
Yeah, and I think this is where I'm going to get into the slight conjecture. Mm-hmm. I think the whole Black Adam debacle forced their hands and caused the announcement of James Gunn as the head of DC Studios to be put way earlier than it was supposed to. Because there's no way you would do that when he has a movie for the competition coming out shortly after.
And you and I have debated this since day one.
Yeah.
I think I think you're half right.
Yeah.
I think they had a plan A and a plan B. I think it was always the plan to announce James Gunn as the new head.
Yes.
I feel like it was also like, this is what we're going to do if Black Adam succeeds.
Yeah.
And we have to follow the money. This is what we're going to do. And then James Gunn was like, but this is what we're actually going to do when this piece of crap actively flops on the floor.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like they said, well, no, James, watch Black Adam and tell us what you think. I think he walked out of the screening and just went, okay, yeah, sure. If this makes money, I'll find a way to make it work. But when it doesn't.
Yeah. Well, and ultimately because of that, you have a serious overlap of him saying, I'm the head of DC Studios. This is what my plan is. Oh, but wait for 2 years because we still have all these other movies that have been made and we have to release.
Yeah. Like Black Adam, Shazam 2, Blue Beetle,
Flash.
The Flash. Aquaman 2. Thank you. I knew.
I'm there with you, bro. That's why we do this together. We help each other.
It's a lot. It's been, guys. It's why we're here. It's been a lot.
So I think at that point, I don't know if he was going to do it anyway, but it definitely gives him the opportunity to cherry pick the things.
Yeah.
It's cherry pick, right?
You're right. You're good.
Okay. There's another term, and I was like, no, I don't think that's what it is. But cherry pick the things he wants. So he got to keep Peacemaker and make another season.
Yeah.
He got to keep some actors he wanted to keep from the previous version into the new version, like John Cena as the whole cast of Peacemaker.
Steve Agee.
Yeah. They all get to go to the new. He said that Blue Beetle is going to continue to be his Blue Beetle.
Which Zolo Miguel from, I apologize. I have tried and I cannot get his last name. Miguel
Zolo de la Bueno?
No, not even close. I know that's not right. Miguel from Cobra Kai has
Yes.
said on social media recently that he's going to start doing VO for that soon, because it's going to do doing an animated. He's getting like an animated series or project or something as Blue Beetle.
Yes. Am I frozen or I keep going?
Forgot I was going to do that.
It's okay.
Now I know it'll be a lot easier for me to find this in the edit. Anyway, go ahead. Take it away. Fine.
Now it wiped my head. Give me a second. Okay.
Blue Beetle.
And of course, then it led everybody into wondering who else is he going to keep, because we knew Jason Momoa had posted a video about him being very excited about something, but he wouldn't say. Everybody assumed he was continue to be Aquaman. And of course, now we know it just meant they were going to keep using him for the character he should have always been, which is Lobo.
Yeah. That was one of those, like, there you go, James Gunn. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Look at you earning that job. And that goes to, like, you know, you mentioned the cherry picking thing and all that. It's something that, you know, longtime DC fans are no strangers to, is the idea of a multiverse where sometimes 2/3 of it's the same and 1/3 of it's odd, or sometimes 90% of it's the same, or 1% of it's the same. You know, Flashpoint exists. Crisis on Infinite. We've all read Flashpoint. We literally reacted to the movie on this channel. Crisis on Infinite Earth has been done so many times. It's ridiculous. The CW even did it, and well. So like, it's one of those, like, it's so like DC fans are used to it. So for James Gunn to just has been very adamant about. And I think that is part of the reason why he's been so active on social media about answering these questions, is because he knows this is going to be confusing. So rather than have people, you know, bitch and moan about how confused they are, he's like, look, if you got a question, just ask me. That's basically how he's been treating it. And through him, we've learned, like, you know, the end sequence from season 1 of Peacemaker, where the Justice League shows up. He has said, you know, I think he said if Peacemaker season 2 had a subtitle, it would be "The Justice League Never Showed Up."
Yeah, that was a dream.
Because James Gunn's DCU, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but like, there is no Justice League. We know that the Justice League hasn't existed yet. But you know, it's the same with the scene at the end, the scene both in Black Adam and at the end of Black Adam, where Harcourt is stationed underwater, and then the other one's not at the end of Black Adam, it's the end of Shazam 2, but now she's recruiting for the Justice Society for Amanda Waller after the end of Peacemaker. See, it was one of where James Gunn's like, yeah, none of that makes any sense. I had nothing to do with that. None of that happened.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, yeah, as far as like that shit goes going into it, like the non-in-universe stuff, that's kind of what you need to know, is just that this is a soft reboot of the timeline. You know, and what James Gunn has basically said is, like, anything that came before this in the, you know, we'll call it the Snyderverse, he's like, if we reference it, it happened. If we don't reference it, it didn't happen. And what it sounds to me like is the only thing that's going to be canon is 90% of season 1 of Peacemaker.
Well, and like, you know, it's a cliche saying, but success fixes all problems. If Superman comes out and everybody loves it and it does gangbusters, no one's gonna care.
Nope.
They'll be like, cool, James Gunn knows what he's doing. Let's do this. If it fails miserably, we're screwed.
Here, we'll say that for the end. And the last tiny bit of outside stuff is in case you haven't already heard this enough, the Batman, Matt Reeves, anything that is not, he is basically, James Gunn has said, we are going to embrace the power of the slate. So anything that's got this slate at the beginning of it is a DCU in-universe part of this sandbox. Anything that's DC Elseworlds that's not part of it, the Batman, Harley Quinn,
Teen Titans Go.
Teen Titans Go, these other weird DC projects that are being worked on, those are going to have their own special slate at the beginning, and then everyone can stop asking, because then it can just be, is this part of what slate was at the beginning? Was it the blue one or the red one?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Red for Matt Reeves, blue for everything else. I don't care. That's just so, yeah. So there we go. All right, now let's get to some in-universe stuff.
Okay.
Creature Commandos.
Yes.
This we've mentioned it a couple times as, like, people keep saying Superman's the beginning of the DCU, but what about Creature Commandos? Creature Commandos is the potato skins. Creature Commandos is the appetizer. Creature Commandos is the, like, we're not sure, we won't know until we see the movie how much the repercussion, the fallout from that movie is going to have on Superman, if at all. All we know is that we're going to see Rick Flag Sr. in Superman. That's it. That is all we know. But if you want to get an idea, a loose idea for how weird the DCU is going to be, how just kind of much they're embracing the weirdness that is DC Comics in general, and just a general idea of where we're at in the universe just as a whole.
Yes.
Watch Creature Commandos.
Yeah, Creature Commandos lets you know this is a universe that has existed. None of these characters are brand new. They've all had things before. They've had things after. They had interaction with heroes, a la Batman making a uber brief cameo. But that, hey, what we're stepping into is a already realized superhero environment, that these things are not the norm, but they are around.
James Gunn has said himself in the DCU, metahumans, superheroes, have existed for 300 plus years.
Yeah.
It's not like we said this a couple weeks ago, but a couple episodes ago, like, this is not like in the Snyderverse where it was like, well, Superman showed up and everybody was like, nothing like this has ever been here before, until the next movie where it was like, well, except Batman.
Yeah.
For like 20 years.
And Wonder Woman, who was here in World War One.
And then these other guys who have been here since, and then these other guy, and then this other guy, and it was all just kind of like, okay, you guys, it's no, this is the James Gunn's DC was very much just like, aliens exist, giant shark monsters exist, Atlantis exists, a kaiju attacks Metropolis once a week. I don't know, dinner's lasagna.
No,
but yeah,
it is the weird. It is the standard superhero stuff constantly happening.
Yeah,
it's the norm.
Marvel, the MCU has done a very good job of doing what Marvel Comics has always done, which is weaving the weirdness of comic books in with the real world. I mean, in the comic books, you get away a little bit more, but the MCU in particular has done a really good job, more often than not, of making it feel like it's still like the real world.
Yeah.
It's just slowly the Marvel universe is developing into. And DC's tried to do that time and time and time again. And the fact of the matter is, DC's just too weird.
Well, and sometimes too is like, you can explain your way into oblivion. This is the thing.
Yeah.
This is the thing. Like, sometimes you don't need to explain it, because the explanation is either one, going to confuse people, or two, quite honestly, it's probably dumb.
Like, it's probably not that interesting.
Yeah, so, look, I'm Wonder Woman. This is the lasso of truth. I have superpowers.
Yeah.
Cool, let's go. Like, you don't need to tell me.
I am Frankenstein's monster and the Frankenstein's bride. Sure. This is a weasel thingy. This guy's a walking nuclear inferno. That's a robot that hunts and kills Nazis for pleasure.
Yeah. We're there. We're on pleasure. We're on pain.
Yeah, congratulations. Get on board or go watch something else.
Yeah.
And
Superman's going to be like that. I mean, we got Green Lanterns, we got Hawkgirl, we
have a Green Lantern brushing aside soldiers and flipping them the bird. I mean, that's excellent.
Yes.
We've got Crypto. We've got a world where Crypto the Super Dog exists. Metamorpho, Mr. Terrific. These are weird ass characters, man.
And sometimes that's fine. Like, if he can make it work, then we get to get even more weird.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm partially excited about. Like, hey, we're getting this guy in animation. Where is it?
Yeah, we're getting Mr. Miracle from Tom King animated in the next year or so. Like, this is so as far as so if you really want to just to bring us all back to Creature Commandos, it's like that's where if like you want to just like not to say Superman's going to necessarily be as raunchy or it's nowhere near, but that's also a way of letting us know, whereas now Marvel is kind of, I don't want to say late to the game, but dipping their toe in the adult comic now that Disney's acquired everything.
Yeah,
but also like the zeitgeist has shifted to where it's like, hey, you know what, comic books aren't just for kids anymore, and also those kids have grown up and these can be serious adult stories. If you don't like them, don't you don't have to take your kids to see Deadpool. You don't have to take your kids to see Logan. You shouldn't. saw many a 7-year-old at the first Deadpool movie. It is what it is. They learned pretty quick. But with Creature Commandos being very, very far on the for adult side of things, and Superman seeming to be kind of in that, that happy medium, like trying to appeal to a wider audience. And then he, with Clayface being in production and saying like they're shooting for more of a heart, body horror, a rated R kind of thing. There will be other, we've still got more family friendly-esque stuff like Teen Titans Go. We've got some other animated series that DC are developing. So James Gunn and everybody at DC are making sure to be like that. There's something for everyone at the table. They're giving us quite the charcuterie board.
Yes, I can't even say that word.
I know.
Adult lunchable. But the point is,
yes, I mean, you're not wrong. There's also nothing wrong with that.
Not at all. As long as there's prosciutto and cheese, I'm happy.
So let's get into Superman specifically. What are some things, Matt, that people need to know about this movie specifically, now that we're about 20 minutes into this, that people need to know about this movie specifically? Let's start off with our Superman, David Corenswet. Got nothing.
Oh, okay. This is where we're going. All right. Look, we've got 3-4 trailers ish that have been out there. He's talked in 2 of them.
Yeah. How do you feel about from the, the people are going to die, the bits of humor in the other trailer? We've seen little bits of everything. Based solely on what you've seen, I'm asking you to say like, oh, this guy's the Superman. Based solely on what you've seen, if somebody just says to you, that's our new Superman,
I like it. Like I was talking to a friend of mine about this today, and I think this is my general consensus of the movie. This is the first one in a very long time that I'm excited for when it comes to Superman. Previous films, I've been like, this one I'm kind of excited. Do I think it's going to be great? I don't know. I've said it several times before. Like, James Gunn's not batting 100% for me.
Yeah, but
the 70% that he's done has been exceptional. Like, I love the Guardians movies. I really, really like Slither. Didn't like Super. The Suicide Squad, I'm on the fence on.
That's more of a taste.
Well, but I'm just saying, like, I'm not like, for me to sit here and go like, but James Gunn, look, did we know the doughy dude from Parks and Rec was going to be like the coolest leading man of all time? You know what I mean? Like, nobody knew Chris Pratt was going to come out of Guardians of the Galaxy leading 15 films and doing great for the next 10 years.
No, we haven't mentioned and I know we've deviated immediately from Superman, but we haven't mentioned Guardians of the Galaxy yet. But I think that's when we're talking about the casting of this guy, that I'm not saying he was a complete unknown, but he's not a well-known. I
Yeah.
mean, he's, people were like, oh, he's like, I remember them being like House of Cards actor, and I was like, when?
Yeah.
I've seen House of Cards. I didn't remember him in House of Cards. It was in the new Twisters movie. My mom went and saw that. I was like, oh, how was the new Superman? And she was like, I mean, when he was in it, he was fine. It's like, that's not a guy who's been like,
Yeah.
but
I guess my thing I'm trying to say is, and I'm sorry not to step on each other too bad, is like
I think we're saying,
James Gunn, I'll try. I may not like all of his movies, but
yeah,
the one thing he's nailed every single time, in my opinion, is the casting.
there. That's what. Yeah, that's yeah. Okay, we got that. Yes, yeah.
It's like, look,
Dave Bautista.
Dave Bautista. Look, Zoe Saldana's great and everything.
Yeah,
just grab her. You know it's going to be perfect.
You got Bradley Cooper. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, congratulations for getting your number called. Like, like good for you. Honestly, that's
So I think with that in mind, I'm the guy. He seems to have a good thing. I like look. It's a weird allegory, but it's an allegory that's been existing for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Superman's kind of a Jesus thing. Jesus was this,
guys.
And he flipped over some tables because people are doing stupid crap. So when you do stupid crap, Superman's going to be angry.
It's a lot of what we see in The Boys and Invincible, and it's topics like that we've usually relied on indie comics to address. It's only been in not that DC and Marvel and the bigger ones haven't, but usually they're a bit more subtle.
Yeah.
Yes, every once in a while you get a Frank Miller who comes in there and shows them what's up. But James Gunn appears to be approaching this Superman with a very adult sensibility of a very like, this Superman needs to be, to your point, like, he is the good guy. He's not just the good guy in this movie. He is the good guy. He is the superhero. And in Richard Donner's first Superman, we spend a lot of time with a young man it presented with his full origin in a way that we understand just why this young man has developed into Superman, into the way that he is, to this truth, justice, the American way kind of thing. And James Gunn's going into this with, he's got to really find a way to instill that same feeling of hope with this movie without retreading the origin story, which is what he said he's not going to do. And as somebody who has always been not a Superman fan, I can honestly say, like, this is the first time, like I'm excited for this movie.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going into this movie like optimistic, like, or hopeful, like, oh, I hope this one's good. It's like, this is the first time I've been presented with something in a way that has me going like, no, like, I genuinely don't know how this could not be like not that I'm expecting it to be good, but just like, I honestly don't know what could. It's the same feeling I had going into the Batman, of like, when I just look at the resume on it alone, it's like, directed by, written by, filmed by, music by, edited by, starring.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm kind of droning about this a bit is because all of that comes down to, as much as I loved Henry Cavill as Superman, every time I've seen David Corenswet on screen in an image or in a trailer, whether it's been as Clark as Superman, all I can think to myself is just, oh, James Gunn got one of those things from like Rick and Morty or Futurama where you can scan a picture of something and it comes to life, because that's just out of a comic book. I don't know how he did it. I don't know how he found someone who can just, and I'm trying not to get too swept away in it because that's kind of what happened with Brandon Routh. But they didn't try to hide as much of David Corenswet's acting in the trailers as they did with Brandon Routh. Brandon Routh's a wonderful actor, just not in that movie.
No.
And and sorry, to put a period on this, there is just something about this fairly unknown actor that every time I've seen him doing press or in a promo for this movie, I'm just like, something just feels right.
Yeah. Hey, lest we forget, Christopher Reeve was 24 years old, and I don't know that he had been in any big feature films. He had never been a lead.
No. That was his big break. I've watched that documentary like 7 times. So I can tell you about the making of that movie.
Yeah. So I think that's where sometimes, depending on the character, plucking somebody out of obscurity is what you need, especially if you can get him to embody what you want. And it just looks and feels like Superman. That's a big thing, is like some of these previous guys don't have that. Like, look, what's the guys from the TV show? What's his name?
Oh, Tyler Hoechlin.
Like, look, Tom Welling didn't have to really be Superman. He was Clark Kent.
Yeah.
We don't know what
he had to be Kal-El.
Yes, but he didn't have to be Superman. So we don't know what his Superman would have been like, but he looked the part. I thought, as far as physical look of who he should be, I think Tom Welling is, in my opinion, what I think Superman should be. Just a big dude who is like stands out, but it's not like Atlas Titan ripped beyond belief.
He's got a very like young, like when you think of like what Superman looks like in like the All-Star Superman comic.
Yeah.
I haven't read it. I still haven't read it, but
yeah. but like Tyler Hoechlin, like I would have never pegged him as a perfect Superman, because I've seen, I think, of him a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
But man, something he's doing.
So one last thing I think everybody really needs to know about this movie, at least going into it, is just the amount of world building this movie is going to be doing.
Yes.
We have seen from the trailers that this movie's supporting cast is the rest of the DC universe.
Almost, yeah.
and people have raised questions and made statements about, like, does this film seem overblown with characters? Which James Gunn made a very interesting point, which is like, well, you know, nobody said that about Guardians, Suicide Squad,
or
X-Men, Revengers. It's like it's only overblown if you spend, you know, too much time on them. And time and time again, we see a lot of these comic book movies where it's like, well, there's like 3 actual comic book characters in them, and then the rest are Tom, Dick, and Jane that are characters that we have to spend all this time developing, or spend no time developing and then care no shits about.
Yeah.
No, these are characters that exist. If you have watched an episode of The Big Bang Theory, you've heard about at least one of these characters once. Like,
and the thing too is, this is where, you know, like I said, the whole thing about, like, the coolest thing about Batman sometimes is watching him treat the Justice League the way he does. Well, you also can't get how good Superman is without seeing him deal with other superheroes who may not have the same ideals and morals. I mean, not to jump ship again, but it's like, nothing is cooler than watching Daredevil and Punisher argue about ideals. So to see Superman arguing with, what's his name? His name suddenly escapes me.
Batman?
No. The Green Lantern.
Oh,
Guy Gardner.
Yeah.
See, I mean, it's obvious they go to throws, whether it's verbally or physically.
Yeah.
Like, Guy Gardner is not a Boy Scout. Mr. Terrific, he's not a Boy Scout either. You know, Hot Girl, if they're going by what we've seen in previous incarnations, she's just a straight out warrior that beats the crap out of things. That may just not be his thing. And I think that's where you get the whole, like, this is a good guy, not the antagonist.
No,
this is a good guy. And you could see the variance of how good he is by watching the other heroes either revere him or be like, what are you doing? Questioning him because of how much more he's willing to do what he needs to do.
Yeah, he's lawful good. He's like, no. We're doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. I don't care what your country's policies are. I don't care what this is going to look like in the press. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go put out the fire. I'm gonna
saving people's lives.
And people were going to die.
Yeah,
that's it. End of sentence. Period. Yeah. And that should be good enough for you, Miss Lane. Good day. I will see you in the morning at breakfast. You will. Yeah, you will. We made so many dirty jokes in the All-Star Superman reaction, and I left them all in. They were fantastic. So going into Superman, get ready for a world that's lived in, that's weird, that's wild, that's wacky, that's fun, that needs a Superman. And I have a feeling we're going to find out why. So with that being said, we'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. So please, by all means, subscribe on your way down there. We're going to put up a video next week to give you guys a heads up of what the next week is going to look like if you're still watching at this point. First and foremost, no live stream this weekend. I'm going out of town for the 4th. Who cares? I'm going to watch the fireworks. Yeah. We will have a video up next week giving our predictions for Superman. We are both seeing it Tuesday, July 8th. We will both do some like quick out of the theater, like 30-second videos to put up on social. But we will do a full non-spoiler review to go up as soon as we can Wednesday. And our spoiler review will go up later that Friday. That way you guys can watch it that weekend once you've all had a chance to see the movie.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of you are going to be seeing it Tuesday, but then that way you guys can just, and then I'll take it back. Our non-spoiler review our spoiler review is going to go up the following Monday. Friday is going to be which of our predictions came true.
Yeah, there you go.
Or we might flip those. We haven't confirmed. We haven't committed yet.
Or if you just tell Mike to release everything at once, we'll just do that.
If you guys get us to 500 subscribers between now and the time Superman comes out, I will do that.
Trust me, it just takes one comment to make him do something. Batman Animal Instincts, and we have fun.
Shut up. That's coming later. Follow us on all the social medias at DC Junction. You can find me on social media at Mr. Mike Shea.
You can find me across all social media at The Hustle Man.
But next time we see you guys, Superman will be out, and it'll be a brand new James Gunn run DC world. See you guys again next time on DC Junction.
Bye-bye.